people think that goes away in April with the heat.
Hi there, welcome to Planet America. I'm John Barron.
And I'm Licciardello.
This week, President Trump is back on the campaign trail after getting the all clear from his doctor. Not him, no, that one.
Trump's got plenty of work to do. The polls are looking very good for Joe Biden, but can we trust them?
We're going to talk to campaign guru Joe Trippi. He's predicting a Reagan-like landslide, but not for Trump.
And I'm going to be fact-checking Joe Biden's tax plan, and we're taking a road trip to Ohio. But first...
With polls showing that he may be heading for a crushing election defeat in just 21 days, President Trump has returned to the campaign trail less than a fortnight after being diagnosed with COVID-19. White House Dr. Sean Conley issued a statement yesterday saying President Trump had recently tested negative to the coronavirus on consecutive days, and he says he's no longer contagious. Which is fortunate given that he was throwing MAGA face masks out into the crowd in Florida. After his restrained 18-minute address to supporters at the White House on the weekend, yesterday in Florida, it was a slightly hoarse but otherwise very energetic Trump, speaking for over an hour, claiming he's on track for victory.
We're going to win Florida big. We're going to win a lot of states big. We're leading in Arizona. We're leading in Nevada. We think we're leading in Pennsylvania. We're leading in North Carolina. We're leading all over the place.
You think? That's not exactly what the public polls say. We'll check with them later. Still, it looked like Trump was having fun. In fact, it looked like he was back at Studio 54 in 1978. What is that doctor giving him? Meanwhile, America's top infectious diseases expert, Dr. Anthony Fauci, is not happy with these Trump rallies.
We know that that is asking for trouble when you do that. We've seen that when you have situations of congregate settings where there are a lot of people without masks. The data speak for themselves. It happens.
But say what you like about Donald Trump, it is pretty extraordinary to go from being in hospital on supplemental oxygen, a cocktail of antibody therapies and high-dose steroids, to full-scale campaign rallies in just over a week. And Trump reportedly wanted to put on an even bigger show when he left Walter Reed last week. You'll recall that balcony scene where he stagily ripped off his mask. Well, he allegedly wanted to appear frail at first when people first saw him, and then underneath his regular shirt, he would wear a Superman t-shirt, which he would reveal as a symbol of strength when he ripped open the top layer, an idea he seems to have stolen from Willy Wonka. Yeah, again, I think, Chaz, maybe they want to check that label for side effects.
Look, I'm choosing to believe that was a joke because I don't want to consider the alternative. Mitch McConnell, though, doesn't seem overly convinced by Trump's corona theories. He said, I actually haven't been to the White House since August the 6th because my impression was their approach to how to handle this was different than mine, which is to wear a mask and practice social distancing. That's an interesting quote, John. But for his part, Trump is focusing on spreading the good news.
But they gave me Regeneron, and it was like unbelievable. I felt good immediately. It just made me better, okay? I call that a cure. I want to get for you what I got, and I'm going to make it free. You're not going to pay for it.
Now, as impressive as Trump's recovery seems, we still don't know for sure how impressive it is, because Trump's released almost no useful health details and he's slapped a non-disclosure agreement on his doctors. Even if he was more transparent, though, Regeneron's CEO makes a good point.
So the president's case is a case of one, and that's what we call a case report. And it is evidence of what's happening, but it's kind of the weakest evidence that you can get.
Secondly, this whole worked immediately claim is very suspect. Regeneron doesn't even pretend it works immediately. One doctor told the New York Times there was a 1,000,000% no chance that the Regeneron treatment could have cured Mr. Trump in 24 hours. Also, we should say this is not a general cure. For anyone whose system is already fighting the virus, the treatment seems to achieve very little, but early trials have suggested that for the right patients, it can cut recovery time from 13 days to 6. One more problem though, Trump can't give the drug to everybody because there isn't enough of it. There's apparently going to be 300,000 doses by the end of the year. Eli Lilly has their own version of the treatment that could produce 1 million doses by the end of the year, but they've just paused their trial due to potential safety concerns. And America's got millions of active COVID cases to service, not to mention the at least 12,000 new cases every day that could potentially be helped by the drug. So they need more of the stuff. Still, this does appear to be a very promising drug, so it is a good news story. And Trump is getting as much mileage out of it as he possibly can, even seemingly implying that he had something to do with its creation.
If you go back a few months, nobody ever even thought about this stuff. We came up with it.
Oh, did you? And now that it seems like there'll be no vaccine till next year, Trump is moving on.
On the pandemic, I was telling you about this medicine. I'm so proud of it. People don't want to write about it, but that's okay. But this is better than the vaccine.
The quick and the dead, John.
Yeah, and we still don't know how long he was sick, when he last tested negative, when he first tested positive. Still lots we don't know. Joe Biden, on the other hand, is doing things much more by the book with a drive-in rally in Toledo, Ohio, where he again condemned Trump's handling of the whole pandemic.
He refused to follow the science. It's estimated that if we just wore these masks nationally, we'd save over 100,000 lives between now and the end of the year.
Fair point, although the clip that Republicans are focusing on is this.
I'm running as a proud Democrat for the Senate.
You doing what? Maybe he is losing his marbles.
And he said today he's a proud Democrat running for the U.S. Senate. No, you can't tell it. It's the second time. Can you imagine if I did that?
Yep. But what did Biden really do?
You know, we have to come together. That's why I'm running. I'm running as a proud Democrat for the Senate. When I am running as a proud Democrat for Vice President. And I'm running as a proud Democrat for President.
OK, he doesn't really think he's still running for Senate. He just flubbed his lines. He got his tenses jumbled up. More than enough, though, for one of those 6-second Trump campaign attack clips, though. And speaking of selective editing, Trump is under fire for this ad.
President Trump tackled the virus head-on, as leaders should.
I can't imagine that anybody could be doing more.
We'll get through this together. We'll live carefully, but not afraid.
I'm Donald J. Trump, and I approve this message.
Well, Dr. Fauci doesn't approve of that message. He says the ad suggests that he's endorsing Trump, and he wants it taken down.
It's so clear that I'm not a political person, and I have never either directly or indirectly endorsed a political candidate. And to take a completely out of context statement and put it in, which is obviously a political campaign ad, I thought was really very disappointing.
So what was the context? Well, actually, Fauci was talking about how much work he and the rest of the coronavirus task force were doing, not how well Trump had done.
I'm connected by phone throughout the day and into the night. When I say night, I'm talking 12, 1, 2 in the morning. I'm not the only one. There's a whole group of us that are doing that. It's every single day. So I can't imagine that under any circumstances that anybody could be doing more.
So, clearly a distortion out of context, but the Trump campaign says they will keep on running that ad. There's nothing you can do about it. In other campaign news, though, despite the president's negative COVID tests, this Friday's second debate has been cancelled after Donald Trump refused to take part in a virtual format. He'll be campaigning in Florida and Georgia, while Joe Biden will be doing a town hall event for ABC News America.
Yeah, as you say, the Debates Commission changed the next debate to be a Zoom debate because of Trump's COVID. So Trump's campaign withdrew, writing, "We'll pass on this sad excuse to bail out Joe Biden and do a rally instead." Of course, the Biden campaign would have been delighted to not risk a debate while Biden is ahead by 10 points in the polls. So they immediately booked that town hall that you mentioned before the Trump campaign had the chance to change their mind, which, being the Trump campaign, they did the next day, writing, "The commission must stop protecting Joe Biden from this in-person debate and allow the event to proceed, as it was agreed to months ago." Unfortunately, gosh darn it, Biden was all booked out by then. How about that?
How about that? I've got a subsequent engagement.
Mind you, Trump's got other concerns about the Debates Commission. The moderator of the proposed second debate, Steve Scully, tweeted to Trump's mini-me/enemy, Anthony Scaramucci, asking him how to respond to Trump. And Scaramucci replied to him. Presumably that was meant to be a private message, because Scully soon deleted it and claimed he'd been hacked. And the Debates Commission believed him, despite the fact that Scully has claimed to have been hacked twice before when tweeting out things that he's later regretted. Those hackers must be all about hacking Steve Scully. Throw in that Scully once interned with Biden, that he previously tweeted out happy snaps like these, and that he temporarily pulled his Twitter account down for potential scrubbing, and Trump was not very impressed. Even less so when the moderator for the third debate at that point hid her tweets from scrutiny as well. And then Republican elder Bob Dole tweeted out, "The Debates Commission is supposedly bipartisan. I know all of the Republicans and most are friends of mine. I'm concerned that none of them support Donald Trump." So, all I'm saying, John, is do not assume there will necessarily be another debate.
Or that we necessarily care one way or the other at this point. Meanwhile, just as Trump supporters are celebrating the president's speedy recovery, there are some very worrying signs that as the weather cools and Americans are heading indoors, back to colleges and schools and bars and cafes and churches, they are becoming infected with the coronavirus in numbers that we haven't seen for many, many months, Chaz.
Yeah, John, the daily cases have been edging back up to August's numbers, over 50,000 cases a day, although the daily deaths are remaining around the 700 mark. The concern, though, is that those case numbers have been edging up in a lot of places, with 22 states having set new records for daily case numbers sometime during October. In particular, while new cases per capita are edging up in the northeast, the south and the west, in the Midwest, America could be looking at a new wave. The only bright spot for America is that, once again, Europe is doing worse. These are daily cases per capita, and while Italy and Sweden are keeping it together, the UK, Spain and France are in strife, and Belgium and Holland are way out of control. It is one hell of a stubborn virus, John.
Sure is. So, 3 weeks now out from the election. Do Democrats think they have this thing in the bag, just as they did in 2016, or has that experience left them with some gnawing doubts?
Doubts, for example, about Biden's ground game, which I keep on going about. These were the field office numbers in 2012, these were the field office numbers in 2016, and these are the field office numbers in 2020. 307 to 0. Will that be a thing?
Who knows? Joe Trippi may. He's a legend in American campaign politics, working for presidential candidates from Walter Mondale to John Edwards, including the groundbreaking 2004 Howard Dean presidential campaign, which pioneered online organising and fundraising. He's working on a few Senate and House races this year and providing commentary on his podcast, That Trippi Show. Joe Trippi, welcome to Planet America.
No, great to be with you.
So a lot of Democrats, Joe, are worried that we could be seeing a repeat of 2016, but you've been arguing, in fact, the better historical comparison could be 1980, when the incumbent was chucked out overwhelmingly. Why do you think that is the better precedent?
Look, in 1980, we had a very unpopular president. Fair or not, Jimmy Carter was very unpopular. We had double-digit inflation, double-digit unemployment in the country, interest rates, I mean, and we had a huge crisis. The hostages were taken at the Iranian embassy, and every night on television there was a count. It's day 381, and the hostages are still taken, and nothing's been done. And if you look now in the United States, we have a bad economy. We have a crisis in which every night the television networks are reporting higher numbers, and again, that there's surging going on. I think it's much more like that. And what happened in 1980 was what people were looking for. And I was with Democrats in 1980, so I saw it coming from the Republican side. We were basically saying Ronald Reagan's too old. He's too crazy right wing. He's going to have his finger on the button, all these things. And then at the end, as people saw him in the debates, and as we got closer and closer to Election Day, people went, he seems a lot safer than what they're saying. And there was a big move in the end to Reagan. He got 51% of the vote. I see that same exact scenario playing out in our election now.
Joe, this week's second presidential debate has been cancelled. We don't know what's going to happen with a third. It's presumably on, but what impact is that going to have, do you think? Does either candidate win or lose anything by not having a debate this week?
I think it's kind of a lose-lose for Trump. I mean, by on the one hand, I can't see him if there is a third debate, or second debate, avoiding it, because he can't have that happen without him being the star. So he's going, it would be held, I think. But I think the problem for him is, if it's if you think about this, is the entire campaign is in the campaign, the contrast is chaos versus calm leadership. How does he show up there and be anything but chaos? I think Biden got like 3 words in on the first debate. I mean, he maybe had like 4 minutes to be calm. There's no one who can change that contrast. The only one who could change it would be Trump, and he'd have to become like presidential and reasonable and empathetic and caring and not insulting. And I'm sorry, he is our president, but he is none of those things. And I don't think he can change that.
Joe, Trump has enjoyed a massive advantage in field officers, volunteers, all that kind of stuff for the entire campaign. But then in the last week, Joe Biden's team decided to get out in the field with door knockers themselves. What are we to conclude by this very late decision to get into the ground game?
I think, look, there's no way you can implement it in the same way we did in any other year. If someone comes to my door, with a big smile and go, "Hey, I want to, talk to you," I don't care who they're for. Get off my porch, right? So I just think that there's the Trump people the campaign is so cavalier about it that I think that it'll be more threatening and more worrisome to people for those people to be out of the doors. And I don't think that's not how the Biden people would approach my house, is what I'm trying to say. I just don't. I think they'll be wearing masks. They'll be knock and step way back, and then try to make their case. I can still tell them to get off my porch, but at least I won't feel like, why are you doing this to me? Which is the opposite with the Trump organization. When you see them at rallies and anything, they just do not take this serious enough. He didn't take it serious enough. That's how he got it, and how the White House turned into a super spreader event.
Joe Trippi, thanks for being with us on Planet America.
It's a pleasure to be with you.
Time now to hit the road to another of the battleground states that could swing this year's presidential election. And this week, we're heading to the great state of Ohio. Welcome to Ohio, the Buckeye State, named for the seeds of the Buckeye tree rather than the actual eyes of bucks. Ohio's biggest tourist draw is the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame in Cleveland. Their claim to rock and roll fame, local disc jockey Alan Freed coined the term rock and roll back in the 50s.
And here he is in person, Alan Freed.
Hello everybody, how y'all? Welcome to our Rock and Roll Jubilee of Stars.
As well as music, Ohio is a major industrial centre in the heart of the Rust Belt. Cincinnati, Columbus and Toledo, famous for their steel, the state has major manufacturing and agriculture sectors too, but its population has stagnated in recent decades, stuck at around 11.5 million. 78% is white. That's almost 20 points higher than America overall. 13% are black, which is very close to the national average, with a lot fewer Latinos and Asian Americans. Since the start of the coronavirus pandemic, Ohio's unemployment rate has slowly recovered. It's shot up to over 17% in April and has plateaued now around 9%. But there is a big regional difference on show in Cuyahoga County around Cleveland. It's still around 13%, while out in rural Mercer County, it's less than half that. So Ohioans have had very different experiences this year. The state has had around 170,000 coronavirus infections, with new cases surging almost 50% in the past fortnight. And there have already been 5,000 COVID deaths. Republican Governor Mike DeWine has been given high marks, though, for his handling of the crisis, taking fast action, shutting down events and schools before any other state, and wearing masks and even getting tested on TV.
On the other side, you ready?
Sure. Meanwhile, former Ohio Republican Governor John Kasich has been one of the most prominent conservative critics of President Trump.
And I know that Joe Biden, with his experience and his wisdom and his decency, can bring us together to help us find that better way.
Ohio is known as the mother of presidents, and for a while there, they were on quite a run. 7 of the 11 presidents, from Grant to Harding, were born here. Historically, no Republican has won the presidency without winning Ohio. And only 2 Democrats have, John F. Kennedy and Grover Cleveland. Fun fact, President Cleveland was related to General Moses Cleveland, who the city was named after, but another fun fact, his name wasn't Grover, it was Stephen. Stephen Cleveland. No wonder he changed it.
Thank goodness!
In the 60 years since JFK lost Ohio but won the White House, it's backed the winner every single time. In 2004, Ohio was the decider between President Bush and Senator John Kerry. Kerry conceded despite thinking he was robbed by dodgy voting machines and purged Ohio voter rolls.
There won't be enough outstanding votes for us to be able to win Ohio, and therefore we cannot win this election.
But 4 years later, Ohio swung back to the Democrats, Obama winning here both times he ran.
We have a major projection right now. Donald Trump will take Ohio. CNN projects Donald Trump will win Ohio with its 18 electoral votes.
Donald Trump's 8-point victory in 2016 reinforced his appeal to working-class voters in the industrial Midwest. But in 2020, President Trump is facing a much tougher fight.
I'm thrilled to hold the first rally of 2020 right here in the great state of Ohio.
Polls in recent weeks have tightened, Trump closing a 2-point deficit to now be virtually tied with Joe Biden. Ohio's 18 electoral college votes are a toss-up this year, and there's every chance the Buckeye State will be a bellwether again.
Well, since the vice presidential debate, the media has been revelling in Biden's increasingly strange attempts to not say whether he'd pack the Supreme Court or not.
They'll know my opinion of court packing when the election is over.
Well, sir, don't the voters deserve to know?
No, they don't. I'm not going to play his game.
Whatever you reckon, Joe. But the debate squabble I was most interested in was about just how extensively Biden plans to raise taxes.
On day one, Joe Biden will repeal that tax bill. He'll get rid of it.
But America, you just heard Senator Harris tell you, on day one, Joe Biden's going to raise your taxes. It's really remarkable to think.
And the truth and the fact is, Joe Biden has been very clear. He will not raise taxes on anybody who makes less than $400,000 a year.
He said he's going to repeal the Trump tax cut.
It's a fair question. The Trump tax cuts do favour the rich, but at least some of them go to those earning less than $400,000 a year. And Trump's allies have been hitting on this theme for some time.
Even the Tax Policy Center admits taxes would increase on all income groups.
If you elect me, you're not going to have your taxes are going to be raised, not cut.
Big tax increases crushing our recovery.
Now, that ad was rated mostly false by PolitiFact and then subsequently blocked by Facebook for being misleading. But here's where it gets weird. That very same PolitiFact article stated that some tax experts estimate that Biden's plan would mean higher taxes on average for all income groups. So what's going on there? To the wall! Big, beautiful world. Now, part of the mostly false rating on that fact check was about that Biden grab before being taken out of context. But I want to focus on whether he's actually raising taxes on most people or not. In summary, This is his plan, and yes, I am aware that talking about policy is completely out of bounds during an election campaign. It's earth-shattering stuff. I humbly apologise, I beg your forgiveness. But Biden's plan involves raising the top income tax rate from 37 to 39.6%. He's going to raise the corporate tax rate from 21 to 28%. He's going to add a 12.5% payroll tax to wages over $400,000 a year. He's going to make investment income over $1 million a year pay income tax rates instead. They're higher. He's going to raise the foreign income tax for American companies based overseas from 10.5% to 21%. He's going to pay out more through the child tax credit from $2,000 up to $3,000, even up to $3.6 for young kids. And handing out a bunch of credits as well. He's going to hand them out for health insurance, childcare, aged care, and for first home buyers. Now, you may be looking at that plan and you might be wondering, where's the bit where he raises taxes on the middle class? Well, as far as repealing Trump's tax cuts go, Biden does say that his tax rates are going to be slightly adjusted to ensure that those earning less than $400,000 a year are not worse off as a result of his changes. Good news for Mike Pence there. Indeed, the Committee for a Responsible Federal Budget specifically states there are no direct taxes imposed on any household making less than $400,000 a year under Biden's plan. But every economic model assumes that the indirect effects of a corporate tax increase will be partially carried by workers. How is that? It's because government boffins assume that corporations are going to adjust to a higher tax by reducing investment returns or by cutting workers' wages. Now let's put some numbers on that. The Centre-Left Tax Policy Centre estimates that the Biden plan is going to cost 80% of workers from $30 to $590 extra per year. But the top 20% are going to pay $17,500 extra a year, and the top 1% are going to pay $300,000 extra a year. Now you might be saying, this table's crap. The middle class aren't actually paying higher taxes here. And that is exactly what Biden's people say. Lefty economist Austin Goolsbee says this isn't about whether middle-class people will have to pay more taxes. Clearly they won't. And anyone who believes that there would be significant trickle-down needs to explain why childcare credits and healthcare credits or other items in the Biden plan wouldn't generate similar secondary benefits to workers. It's a fair point. So technically, Trump's team aren't lying here, but realistically, it's a bit slippery. Poor people are going to do okay under Biden. But we should talk about Trump's plan as well.
The biggest tax cut ever, and another one coming. Vote.
Okay. Well, look, that's what he tweets. But in reality, there's obviously much more to it than that. So let's look at what the boffins at MarketWatch have to say. Trump would reduce the top capital gains tax rate from 20% to 15%. There is your big tax cut, albeit for the rich. But otherwise, a certain theme develops. He's mentioned a Made in America tax credit without providing specifics. A tax credit for bringing back jobs from China, but he hasn't explained the details. There's a proposal for expensing I won't even try to explain because details are lacking. He's mentioned payroll tax cuts without, you guessed it, providing details. And the bottom line is specifics are mostly lacking. That's right. Now I remember why we don't talk about policy much.
Big, beautiful world.
Now, here's why President Trump could not wait to get back on the campaign trail this week. A series of national polls putting him way behind Joe Biden. 12 points, according to the ABC News Washington Post poll on the weekend. Reuters also put the margin at 12. Polls from Fox and CNBC put Biden's lead at 10 points. And Biden's lead has blown out into double digit in the average of polls as well. He's now consistently above 50%, which, as CNN's Harry Enton points out, puts Biden in an unprecedented position of strength. In the 21 previous presidential elections since 1936, there have only been 5 challengers who've led at this time. Of those 5, only one, Bill Clinton in 1992, was ahead by more than 5 points. None of those 5 were earning more than 48% of the vote in the polls. So Biden's lead is double that.
It's impressive, John. It certainly is, and consistent. Just look at the last 4 months. It's train tracks out there. And Trump needs those train tracks to close up in only 20 more days. Although I can't quite get past how similar those swing state margins are looking to the margins exactly 4 years ago. Pennsylvania, Florida, Wisconsin all currently have the same average margins as they had 4 years ago, and Michigan's actually closer than it was for Hillary. That's going to leave the Trump campaign with some hope.
Hello, I'm Zoe Norton-Lodge from Reputation Rehab, and there is literally no gig I won't take to promote my new show. 2 weeks ago, the President of the United States fell gravely ill. He was admitted to hospital and there was a chance he wouldn't recover. But he did recover. And now we have the opportunity to unite in gratitude and declare, thank God. We can finally laugh at Trump getting COVID. It's not heartless anymore. It's funny. Hang on, he's definitely okay, right?
Yeah, the doctor says he's fine.
He's dodgy doctor or a real doctor?
A real doctor?
Then it's funny. A week ago, it would have been heartless to make light of the president struggling for breath on the White House balcony. But now, mock away. Put it on a t-shirt. Change your Twitter handle to Wheezy Rider for all I care. It's hilarious. And there's no sign he'll suffer bad long-term effects.
No, and if there was, he wouldn't tell us.
Then let the laughter begin. That's fine now. That's okay too. That laugh is still embarrassing, but it's morally sound. So whether you love the president or hate him, grab this rare moment for international unity in a polarized world and say...
Oh my God, is Amy Coney Barrett in some sort of cult?
No!
And with that, we're out of time for another trip to Planet America. We will be back, though, at the same time, 9:30 p.m. next Wednesday night.
Fireside Chats on Friday on ABC News, where we're going to take a good hard look at the Amy Coney Barrett confirmation hearings. And if you still want more, you insatiable people, a brand new Pet podcast is out tonight right there. See you there.
Good night.